This is a new sutta from Majjhima Nikaya, Cātumā Sutta. The discourse at Cātumā, Majjhima Nikaya, monastics 7. In this sutta, the Buddha gives 4 parables, reminding the monks to be careful of 4 dangers to avoid. 4 things that renunciants must watch out for. But of course, the sutta has other important points. In the if you read the summary of the sutta, it says that this sutta is about the Buddha is teaching the monks how the sangha, how the teachers should take care of the sangha. There's a bit of a problem in this word. One word in this sutta, pariharisami. Many of the translators translate this as to lead the sangha. But pariharisami, actually, the context would be better. Following the context, it would be better to translate pariharisami as take care of. Take care of. There is a Malay term. In fact, this term from parihara, or the stem parihara, has come into Malay. And in Malay, there is this word called perlihara. It means to take care of, to raise someone. It's not so much of leading or controlling. It's something like to nurture, a very good degree to nurture. So I've used this translation in this sutta. I'm very happy that this makes very good sense in this sutta. So you can say that's the key word in this sutta. The Buddha teaches the sangha leaders, if you like, to take care of the monks and how we should take care of ourselves and help others care for themselves. So that's one way of putting it. And of course, it's also a very important teaching to the monks on how they should protect their renunciation by avoiding 4 dangers, which we'll come to shortly. Okay, so let's look at the sutta now. This Cātumā is a place in northern India, and the Buddha is staying there, and then Sariputta Moggallana comes along to visit the Buddha. Cātumā Sutta, the discourse at Cātumā. Thus have I heard. At one time, the Blessed One was staying in a myrobalan grove near Cātumā. So here, myrobalan is one of those health berry. It's a kind of seed, actually, a kind of small fruit. I remember eating it in Thailand. It's quite bitter, but it has some health value. Especially, I think I was given one, and I was told that it helps to keep the stomach healthy. So stomach ache, it seems to help myrobalan. And this Cātumā is a Sakya village, so it is in Sakya territory. It also has an assembly hall. Right, so that's where the Buddha is located. And then Sariputta Moggallana comes along with 500 monks. At that time, some 500 monks, led by Sariputta and Moggallana, arrive at Cātumā to see the Blessed One. So notice here we have some 500. We normally do not take numbers, especially large numbers, in a numerical sense. So 500 it's unlikely to mean exactly the way we count 500 today. There were hundreds of monks, definitely. Okay, and I mean, can you imagine the Buddha walking with 500 monks? That's quite a lot, and those little villages would not be able to support so many monks. And so the number is large enough. And you have this Sariputta Moggallana, the left and right hand monks of the Buddha, leading this community of monks. They are young monks, they are new monks, and they've come to see the Buddha. Now comes the situation, the incident for the starting for the sutta. Now these visiting monks were exchanging greetings with the resident monks while lodgings were being arranged and bowls and robes were being put away. There was a great noise, a din. So you notice I've underlined this was a great noise or din. That's the cause of the whole problem. And we have a sutta for this. Then the Blessed One addressed the Venerable Ananda. What's that great noise, Ananda? That din, it sounds to me like fishermen plundering fish. And then Ananda, now here again, you have to imagine yourself, imagine this scenario. I'm sure Ananda didn't immediately reply. If he does so, he probably already knew what was going on. He already like went to welcome the monks, you know. So, or he could take time off and then kind of mindfully rush there and have a look what's going on and then come back and tell the Buddha. They, Bante, are some 500 monks led by Sariputta and Moggallana who have arrived in Cātumā to see the Blessed One. The visiting monks are exchanging greetings with the resident monks, while lodgings were being prepared and bowls and robes were being put away. That was the great noise, the din. All right. You know, the way we read this prose is very much like the way the screenwriters of the movies today would write their story. Now, sometimes if you watch some movies, they will replay certain parts to remind us what actually happened so that we can connect to the narrative better. This is oral tradition, so you have to picture the situation, what is happening, okay, the Buddha, the monks, the noise. All right, so what happens now? Okay, this is a very surprising turn of events. Verse 4. In that case, Ananda, said the Buddha quite sternly, summon those monks with these words of mine, or in my name. Thus, the teacher summons the venerables. Yes, Bhante, the Brahma Ananda replied to the Blessed One and approached the monks, and having approached the monks, said to them, the teacher summoned the venerables. Right? Right, something dramatic is going to happen now. Right, so let's see. Let's go next. What happened next? Yes, Avuso. That's it. The monks replied to the Venerable Ananda, and this big group of monks went before the Buddha. Having approached the Blessed One, they saluted him and sat down at one side. Of course, they probably do this together. So the monks at the back will watch the monks in front. So the monks right in front, of course, Sariputta Moggallana will be right in front. So you see this very beautiful. It's like in the army, you know, you watch the leader, the front person, and they bow down together. Although there are 100 of them, they will bow down together in unison. While they were sitting thus at one side, the Blessed One said this to them. All right, so let's just look at this situation again. These monks were very noisy. The Buddha was kind of concerned about them. The Buddha summoned them to find out what really is going on. So they are in front of the Buddha, and the Buddha asked them, 4.2, next line. What is that loud noise, bhikshus? That din? It seems to me like fishermen plundering fish. All right, so this is sternly spoken. Right, there's a problem here. So we do not know the demeanor of the Buddha when he said this. I can't imagine the Buddha looking very fierce and angry like a normal, unawakened person. But he must have said this with some sternness, definitely, because something is wrong here, and he's going to teach them a lesson. This is not the way monks behave. So no good teacher would take this sort of thing lightly. Right? And we must understand that, because there is a very important question which is asked here in this about this sutta. Scholars and teachers ask this: was the Buddha angry? It's about this fifth verse. And do you think the Buddha is angry? I just can't imagine the Buddha angry, because the Buddha is beyond anger. I mean, he's already this awakened person, you know. And I've known many good monks who have reached a very calm level, and I've never seen them to be angry as far as all the years I knew them, right? So now, after he has told these monks, he says, you know, you're making a lot of noise, all right? Again, I don't think the Buddha said just this. There probably are many other things the Buddha must have spoken. And then the Buddha gave them an order. Number 5, go bhikshus, I dismiss you. You should not stay near me. All right, now you can put another exclamation mark at the back if you like. These are very stern words. Now, what's interesting here is this is just the opposite of the ordination formula. Ordination formula for the arahats, the Buddha will say, come bhikshus, ehi bhikkhave. But here is, go bhikshus, I dismiss you. It's like you're losing the job, you know. But here it's more like being kind of sent away, you know. So you should not stay near me. This is very important. The way it is, the Buddha doesn't mince words. He is not a person who, you know, kind of dilly-dally, or who would think, okay, you know, it's all right. If it's wrong, it tells you it is wrong. This is the way of a teacher. But he says it very calmly, right? And the monks know this. The monks realize this, maybe a little too late. Yes, Bhante, the monks replied to the Blessed One. Having risen from their seats, they saluted the Blessed One, and keeping their right side to him, departed. Having packed up their lodgings and taking their bowls and robes, they departed. Right, so they left. There is another sutta which I forgot, where a kind of similar thing happens, and these monks went away, and they were meditating by themselves. And then when they remember, they meditated and they became arahats, and then they came back to see the Buddha. But right now, I've forgotten the sutta. But anyway, in this case, they were sent away. But this is the first part of the story. Remember, we are in Sakya country, right? So the Sakyas are all around. And these monks have been, in the minds of those Sakyas, they've been punished. They've been banished. And so they're very concerned, because the Buddha's tone is very serious here. To the Buddha, what the monks did is also very serious. So the Buddha was kind of reaching down to the monks, to their level, and telling them, teaching them a very important lesson. Now we must always remember, this is a sutta. It's not just about monks making noise. You know, the Vinaya can deal with that and just forget about it. But it's made into a sutta. Once it is made into a sutta, it means that it's going to reach us today. It's going to come down to you and me. It's meant for you and I to look at this sutta, relive this experience, remember this moment, this important and wonderful occasion that the Buddha is teaching the Dhamma. This is what it's all about. It's not the Buddha punishing the monks. It's about the Buddha teaching the Dhamma. The Buddha telling these noisy monks, you can and should be better than this. But he must do certain things to ensure that these monks will learn their lesson. So this is a very interesting situation where the Buddha say very few words. And by dismissing the monks, pushing them away from his presence. Usually, the monks, we ourselves would like to be before the Buddha, in the presence of the Buddha, hear his teaching. Now imagine the monks being told, you cannot come into the Buddha's presence. It must be devastating. I mean, if you can't listen to the Buddha who's still alive, what can you learn? You know? I mean, you may learn something from other monks, yes, but the Buddha is there. And the Buddha has dismissed you. So all these monks are, because they're good monks, they take this instruction very seriously. You can take another situation where Devadatta spoke against the Buddha, and he brought with him 500 other new monks who turned away from the Buddha themselves. And they were the ones who rejected the Buddha. But then it was Sariputta and Moggallana who went to them, spoke to them, and brought them back to their senses, and they came back into the Buddha's presence. Right? So it must be understood in this context when we look at this, the Buddha's dismissal of the noisy monks. The Buddha could have given a long lecture, why monks should not be noisy and so on and so forth. And you and I might say, oh no, here's another sutta, But here is a dramatic acting out of the Dharma in real, true action. The Buddha teaching the Dharma by way of his action, or if you like, even non-action in this case. So this is amazing way of teaching, in other words. So this is the first part, right? So the Buddha dismisses the monks. Then comes the two parables. Now, these two parables are really interesting because they are not the Buddha's parables. These two parables came from the Sakyas themselves. It's the people's parables. The Sakyas were very concerned. You might say they were even shocked. So, what? The Buddha dismissed these monks? They probably know many of these monks, put them dana and so on. So they came to see the Buddha. So this is the next part of the sutta. The Sakyas intercede, okay? All right, that's good. It's pushed up a bit. 6. Now at that time, the Sakyas of Cātumā were assembled in the assembly hall for some business. This is typical of the Sakyan Republic and the Lichavis and so on. They have this assembly hall where the elders will gather, and that's when they decide what to do or what not to do regarding themselves. So these assembly halls are very important. They're like parliament houses, if you like. So they were gathered there. They gather there very often, to govern themselves. The Sakyas of Cātumā saw the monks coming from afar. So they have to leave, and they were kind of passing by, and the Sakyas saw them. Seeing them, they approached the monks and said this to them: "Where are you venerables going?" Also, the sangha of monks has been dismissed by the Blessed One. So notice here they use the word awuso. This is a polite way of addressing the people, and the monks also use awuso among themselves if they are of equal rank or younger. I mean, the people at rest are younger than them in sangha age. The Buddha, the monks, sangha of monks has been dismissed by the Blessed One. This could have been spoken either by Sariputta or Moggallana. We do not know, or it could be just one of the monks. Now, then the Sakyas are very concerned. They're very concerned. So here you have the storytelling, which is very direct, because they only have this limited moment to tell the story. So it's very direct, very terse, very concise. In that case, that the Sakyas, or to say the Sakya leader, of course, I don't think they always speak at the same time. In that case, let the venerables be seated. Perhaps we would be able to reconcile them with the Blessed One. Now, this is very interesting, and I read this with a smile, because here you have the Buddha giving an order to the monks, you are dismissed. And here you have the sangha, you have this Sakyas are very compassionate, very concerned. They say, let the venerables be seated. Okay, you stay here. You stay here. Don't go away. We will talk to the Buddha. So this is amazing. You have this great compassion being shown by this big group of Sakya people. Can you imagine that? I mean, if we Buddhists can do this, it's amazing, you know. We help each other in this common esprit de corps, they call it, this common effort of kindness to others. We will speak to the Buddha. We will reconcile you too. Yes, I would say that the monks agreed with the Sakyas of Cātumā. All right. So now you have like a third chapter. The Sakyas go to see the Buddha. So they have this case before the Buddha. Then the Sakyas of Cātumā approached the Blessed One, saluted him, and sat down at one side. Sitting thus at one side, the Sakyas of Cātumā said this to the Blessed One. Bhante, may the Blessed One rejoice in the sangha of monks. Bhante, may the Blessed One approve of or welcome back the sangha of monks. Bhante, just as the Blessed One has helped the sangha of monks in the past, even so may the Blessed One help the sangha of monks now. Okay, so this Sakya layman, they are telling the Buddha, please forgive these monks. All right? You've been always kind to them, so please be kind again, basically. All right. So 7.2, there are monks here who are newly ordained. Okay, this is their excuse, if you like. So you got to forgive this monk. Okay, this is the reason. Okay, they are monks here who are newly ordained, not long gone forth, only recently come to this Dhamma Vinaya, teaching and discipline. If they do not see the Blessed One, they might become otherwise. In other words, they become anxious. They might change, because here you have to understand the language, meaning they will not grow in their training. Then there'll be problems for them. All right. So the Sakyas are very concerned. All right. So here, see this is very interesting, because you see the monks obeying the Buddha, but the lay people acting like a third party. They have this freedom. They can, in a sense, influence the Buddha, so to speak, or influence the monks if the monks are doing wrong. So this is where this sutta is beautiful, because it's also reminding the lay people of their duty, how they can keep the sangha pure, disciplined, diligent, right? The lay people can do that. So it's not about power here. It's about caring for each other. That is why the term pariharisami is very important here, right? And to take care of each other, to help each other. So we do what we can, even, a single person helping another, right? So that is the Buddhist way. We take care of each other. You know that there are many Buddhist groups in Singapore. You have these groups for seniors, right? So we have, for example, Ratna is helping a friend, an elderly, well, a lady who's younger than her, I think, who is not well, who's often sick and with all kinds of problems, and who's in fact in hospital now, having a stone in the liver area being removed, quite a large stone, and she has become a family friend. I mean, so Rana didn't do this officially. It's not part of some big program. She's doing this because she's a Buddhist. because this is the way Buddhist compassion should work. Then I was asked by the leader of the senior group, the Loving Heart group here nearby, that if I could just phone an elderly neighbor in a couple of blocks away. He's living all alone. He's a retired teacher. He's 80 years old. We just want to be sure that he's okay. If anything happens, we will know. So I phoned him like once a week, once in 2 weeks. And Prana and I visited him once, just to say hello to people. This is what we do in Singapore. I'm not proud to say this because actually, for many of you, like back in Malaysia, you find it's quite normal. You talk to people, the kampong spirits, all this stuff. But here, we have to make an extra effort to do this, to care for the old who are becoming lonely, and then the more of these old people, and the younger people, their children are kind of rich and well-to-do, and they're married. They want to have their own lives, and they do not want to have these old folks around for various reasons. So this is what wealth is doing to many of us. And yet at the same time, we also have wonderful friends among yourself who are wealthy, and yet you're very concerned about others. And that's the way Buddhism is, you see. Lay people should build up your wealth so that you can live happily, comfortably, and also build the teaching, the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, so that the Buddhists are happy, well supported, and socially mature. This is happening in a small way, but it needs to be done in a bigger way. And this is the sutta spirit, this idea of lay people taking care of each other. So you can see how important the sutta becomes when we look at it and study it. So that's the purpose of sutta study. Notice here in this 7.2, it's just the opposite. So the Sakyas are reminding the Buddha, so if these young monks do not get the teaching, they might change. They might fall back in this case. They might not be able to progress. On the other hand, if they are given this kind respect, this caring, they will progress. So the whole idea of this caring is to help each other progress. So we see this this request of the Sakyas reminding the Buddha. Okay, so, what's interesting here, it is as if the Sakyas they think the Buddha is angry and not knowing what the Buddha is doing. But the point is, someone as wise and awakened as the Buddha knows what he's doing. And of course, if you have to follow the commentators will tell you, oh, the Buddha knows that the Sakya is going to come and see him and asking all these things, all right? But that doesn't really matter. It's important the story is told to us and we can see the significance of it. Now, okay, we'll look at the two parables and then we'll take a break, okay? So now this Sakyas must be really good politicians. They're presenting their case really well. Now they come up with two parables. They compare these young monks in two ways. All right. Okay. Let's see. Okay, we've got to go further down now. 7.3, I think. Okay, so first, let's look at 7.3. The Sakyas are talking now. They tell the Buddha, just as when young seedlings do not get water, might become otherwise, might change. Even so, there are monks here who are newly ordained, not long gone forth, only recently come to the Dhamma Vinaya. If they do not see the Blessed One, they might become otherwise, they might change, right? So young seedlings need water. So the Buddha is like water. The Dhamma is like water for the plants. Second parable, 7.4. Just as when a young calf does not see its mother, might become otherwise, might change, difficult to manage, in other words. A calf needs the mother. Even so, there are monks here who are newly ordained, not long gone forth, only recently come to this Dhamma Vinaya. If they do not see the Blessed One, they might become otherwise. They might change. Now, I like this parable of the young calf because you've seen a calf, the calf can be quite playful near the mother, see? And sometimes you might notice the mother, in a way, trying to discipline this little calf, right? So this is a very beautiful cow figure, all right? Which I think is a bit difficult for Singaporeans to imagine, but most Indians will say, oh yes, I know this one, got many cows in India. All right, so then the Sakyas close their petition, 7.5. Bhante, may the Blessed One rejoice in the sangha of monks. Bhante, may the Blessed One approve of the sangha of monks. Bhante, just as the Blessed One has helped the sangha of monks in the past, even so may the Blessed One help the sangha of monks now. It's as if the sangha, I mean, this Sakyas are reminding the Buddha, this is your duty, you got to be compassionate, please teach this to monks, all right? So you see a little bit sense of humor here also. All right. Now, this case has become so big, even heaven intervenes, right? You have Brahma Sahampati coming down to see the Buddha. This part I really love, Brahma Sahampati himself coming down. And we'll look at this after a short break. Right, so section 8. Then Brahma Sahampati, having known with his own mind the reflection in the Blessed One's mind, just as a strong man might stretch his arm out or bend it back, Brahma Sahampati disappeared from the Brahma world and reappeared in the before the Blessed One. Then Brahma Sahampati, having arranged his upper robe on one shoulder, knelt down on his right knee on the ground, raised his palms lotus-wise towards the Blessed One, and said this to him. Now, some of you may have seen in some of the statues in temples, the bodhisattvas lying down, bowing down with the right knee on the ground. So one knee up, one knee down, and palms together. So this is the sutta reference to such a posture. This is only done by devas and, of course, by Brahma. So Brahma comes down. Now, you remember that the first time Brahma came down was to invite the Buddha to teach. So here again, you have this, the sutta compilers tell this story, okay? Brahma coming down again to invite the Buddha to teach, because the monks have committed kind of an offense, if you like. So that is not good for the monks. So that the Buddha has to teach again. So Brahma sees his duty also to remind the Buddha, please teach the world out of compassion. Right? So here again, you see Brahma is like this a very special or exemplary lay Buddhist also. Brahma, of course, as you know, he's still out there. He's still in the heavens. But Brahma, even today, is a non-returner. Okay, so he's come down. And he tells the Buddha the same thing that the Sakyas have said. He reminds the Buddha that these are young monks. They are like young seedlings. They need water. So the Buddha is like this water, so that they will grow in the teaching. They're like young calves, so in a sense, quite playful. So they need the guidance of the Buddha, right? So please teach them. You have been compassionate to the monks before, and please do so again. All right. So that's enough. That's the petitions, and the Buddha is going to respond. Okay, the Buddha's response, of course, is immediate. Okay, let's go down. Next thing. The Buddha recalls the monk. Further down, please. We have done this passage already. Yeah, the Buddha recalls the monks. Yeah, there you are. So here again, you see the Buddha's compassion. Or the Buddha sees that, well, you can see the Buddha's wisdom here also. The Sakyas know about this. The Brahma knows about this. Earth and heaven know about all this ongoing. And he feels that, okay, the time is right. Let's get the monks back, all right? So notice section 10 says, with the parable of the seedlings and the parable of the young calf, the Sakyas of Cātumā and the Brahmā Sampati were able to reconcile them with the Buddha. Okay, the Buddha agreed with them, say yes, okay, they're young monks. Then Mahā Brahmā addressed the monks, Awuso, arise, Awuso, take your bowls and ropes. The Blessed One is reconciled with you by the Sakyas of Cātumā and Brahmā Sampati, with the parable of the seedlings and the parable of the young calf. Okay, so here you see, this is the way the Vinaya works. When a monk breaks a rule, or the monk is not mindful, he separates himself. He loses himself away from the sangha. So he needs to be reconciled. He needs to come back. Right? So here the monks are brought back by Sariputta Moggallana. Okay. All right. So now they appear before the Buddha. Now the Buddha is going to teach them the significance, the Dhamma connected to this situation. Taking next section, taking care of the sangha. There you are. This is the keyword I've been talking about. Further down, okay, further down, section 12.2. Yeah, there you are. As they here, the monks were sitting thus at one side, the Blessed One addressed the Venerable Sariputta. Notice here the Buddha always addresses the senior most personally. He talks to Sariputta, but all the other are present. They are also listening. In a sense, the Buddha is indirectly reminding the elder monks, Sariputta and Moggallana, what they should do. What did you, Sariputta, think when the Sangha of monks was dismissed by me? What did you think when the Sangha of monks was dismissed by me? Now, this is a very interesting question, isn't it? So, because here, interestingly, the Buddha, through Sariputta and Moggallana, he is teaching the future, in other words, the present senior monks, the monk leaders. All right. So what did you think? What were you thinking when I dismissed the monks? In other words, there's a hint here. The Buddha knew what he was doing earlier on. Then Sariputta replies, Bhante, it occurred to me thus. The Sangha of monks has been dismissed by the Blessed One. The Blessed One will now dwell unconcerned, devoted to dwelling at ease here and now. I too will now dwell unconcerned and devoted to dwelling at ease here and now. Okay. Now you will not understand this answer by Sariputta if you are a scholar, if you are an ordinary scholar. But if you love the Dhamma and you understand the nature of early Buddhism, then you are likely to kind of understand better why Sariputta says this. And Sariputta is not saying anything wrong here. He's thinking of the Buddha. He has very deep spiritual love for the Buddha. He says now the Buddha is not disturbed. He can rest. So I also can rest. Okay. So basically, this is what Sariputta is saying. I too will dwell unconcerned because they are arahats, so why bother? I see. So here, now this is the right answer for an arahat, you see. But the Buddha thinks that there's a better answer, okay? Now wait, Sariputta, wait, Sariputta. So that means here the Buddha is saying, hey, there's something more, all right? Let not such a thought ever arise again to you, Sariputta. Okay, so this was the rare occasion when you see the Buddha actually telling Sariputta, telling Arahat, don't think in this way. Now he's not saying that Sariputta is wrong. He says, don't think in this way. All right. So, I mean, yes, you can be unconcerned, have equanimity, things like that, and you seem I'm okay away from the noise. But there's something more than that. So he's saying, don't think again, don't let this thought arise in you again. What he's saying is, don't think that it's merely because of my comfort, because we don't want those monks to be noisy so that the Buddha is comfortable. No, that's not You should not interpret it that way. And this is the message for us today, right? Through Sariputta. And then the Buddha asked Moggallana. Okay, so I'm going to read the question right away, number 13. What did you, Moggallana, think when the sangha of monks was dismissed by me? Bhante, replied Moggallana, it occurred to me thus. The sangha of monks has been dismissed by the Blessed One. The Blessed One now dwells unconcerned, devoted to dwelling at ease here and now. But the Venerable Sariputta and I will now look after the sangha of monks. All right, so here is an extra statement. And here the Buddha says, Sadhu, Sadhu, Moggallana. For either I, Moggallana, would look after the sangha of monks, or Sariputta, Moggallana would. Now, this is amazing because usually we know the Sariputta is the wisest of the monks, right? But in this case, it is Moggallana who is praised for his wisdom by the Buddha. So we have to be very careful not to be too dogmatic, when we read the suttas. So someone might ask you, is there an occasion where Moggallana shows greater wisdom or seems to show greater wisdom than Sariputta, right? So this is a wonderful, in a sense, a unique occasion. The Buddha praises Moggallana because for understanding. This is not a matter of the Buddha not liking noise, so the Buddha kind of comfortably. It's about training the monks. Like I said before, it's about training the monks, right? Either the Buddha takes care of the monks, or Sariputta and Moggallana will take care and train the monks. And then the Buddha goes on to the 4 parables. Now he gives this teaching directly to the monks, to warn them against the dangers, why they should be calm inwardly, why they should be mindful of 4 things, and to avoid the 4 things. What are the 4 things? In other words, this is the way the sangha should be taken care. The warning them of 4 dangers. Okay, let's go down the 4 dangers. Further down. Then the Blessed One said, Bhikshus, these 4 dangers, something should be cancelled out there. No? Let me just make a note here. There are these 4 dangers to be expected by those who go down into the waters. What are the 4? The danger, here the word danger is Bahaya, it also means fear of waves, the danger of crocodiles, the danger of whirlpools, and the danger of river dolphins. Now, this parable actually is about these huge big rivers like the river Ganges, because that's the nearest to the Buddha. I suppose the Indus River also may have this river dolphins, something you don't hear much about. So there are 4 parables the Buddha is giving now. That 15, even so, bhikshus, there are these 4 dangers to be expected by certain individuals who have left the household life for homelessness in this Dhamma Vinaya. So basically, the Buddha says, if you are a renunciant, if you're a monk or a nun, be careful. These are the 4 things you got to watch out. The first one, what is the danger of waves? Look at 16, second line. Here, bhikshus, a certain son or family goes forth out of faith from household life into homelessness. I am beset by birth, decay, death, sorrow, lamentation, bodily pains, mental pains, and despair, beset by suffering, overcome by suffering. Perhaps an ending of this whole mess of suffering could be known. So, in other words, the Buddha is telling this young monk, so you have given up the household life because you see suffering in it, and you want to be free from this suffering. So, 16.2, then fellow renunciants, colleagues in the holy life, advise and instruct him. Okay, instruct the monks, that is. You should move forward this way. You should walk back or step back this way. You should look forward this way. You should look around this way. You should bend down this way. You should stretch out this way. You should carry your upper robe, outer robe, and bow in this way. All right. So in other words, here the Buddha is listing everything in a practical, objective way, how the monks are taught about decorum, how they should behave themselves in the bodily fashion. Then it occurs to him, he says, this is renunciant meeting, this monk or nun meeting. Formerly, while in our household state, we advise and instruct others. But now, those who seem like sons, like but grandsons to us, in other words, they're very young, the teachers are young, and they think they would advise and instruct us. So they get very angry. They say, wow, look at this young monks trying to tell us what to do. As a result of this anger, and he gives up the training and returns to the low life. So this is the danger of waves, okay? The danger of waves. The waves are dangerous because they can drown people. So this is the first danger. These renunciants do not want to take these instructions because they think of their position and so on, all right? So this is the first warning. The Buddha is basically saying, remember, as a monastic, you'll be taught to behave in the proper way, decorum. So you should accept that. Now, the second point, the danger of crocodiles. What is this danger of crocodiles? It's 17. Here, bhikshus, a certain son of family goes forth. Okay, everything's explained the same way. Remember, you have renounced the world because it is suffering in it, and now you want to be free of the suffering. But in the training, 7.2, then fellow renunciants, colleagues in the holy life, advise and instruct this renunciant thus. This can be eaten by you, this should not be eaten by you. This can be consumed by you, this should not be consumed by you. This can be tasted by you, this cannot be tasted by you. This can be drunk by you, this cannot be drunk by you. So these are 4 ways where food is taken. It's either eaten, in other words, chewed, for example, chew rice, consumed, this one like porridge, okay? You kind of put it in the mouth and you swallow it, and then tasted, it's like soup, certain kind of soup, certain kind of condiments, certain like maybe chili or something. Drunk, of course, is soup, right? So these are 4 ways food are taken. So in other words here, the Buddha says, well, as monastics, you be told what can be eaten, what cannot be eaten, and also what is allowable, what is not allowable, and you got to eat at the right time, not at the wrong time, and so on. All right. So when this happens, these rules about food are given. It says some renunciants may feel trouble. They say, when we were laymen before we became monks, we ate what we like, when we like, and so on. But now, look at 17.4, okay? Now, when faithful housemasters give us exquisite food, hard and soft, during the day at the wrong time, that's also the right time, it seems as if they have gagged us, right? We have been gagged because they cannot take even the nice food offered to them, which is given at the wrong time, meaning beyond 12 noon. So this is terrible. When we were at home, when we're lay people, we can eat what we like, and we take very nice food. So here the Buddha says, the last line, right, at round brackets 2 or 17.4, last line, the danger of crocodiles, indeed, bhikshus. This is a name for belly filling or gluttony. So this is the second danger, gluttony, running, chasing after food. Okay? So eat simply, don't think too much about food. Now the third danger is whirlpools. All right, so here, what is meant by danger of whirlpools? Section 18. Let's go down further. All right, so here again, the Buddha says, okay, you all have become renunciants, you've given up what is suffering to be free from suffering. But then, when you go into your alms round in the towns and cities, 18.3, it occurs to the renunciant. There's something else, sorry, just one paragraph before that. So these monks going to the city to collect food, with body unguarded, with speech unguarded, and mindfulness unestablished, with faculties unrestrained. There he sees a house lord or a house lord's son, endowed and replete with the 5 chords of sense pleasures, and reveling in them. So, in other words, you see all these lay people enjoying life. It occurs to him, so this unmindful renunciant, unmindful monk things. Thus, formerly, while in our household state, we were endowed and replete with the 5 chords of sense pleasures. 5 chords of sense pleasures are those of seeing, hearing, music, in other words, smell, taste, touch. Okay. And now my family has wealth. I can enjoy my wealth as well as make merit. So he said, why don't I go back and enjoy life? I can always make merit. So they return to the low life. They give up being a monk, they go back to the lay life. So this is the danger of whirlpools. You get sucked back into the water. And this, what is this whirlpool? They are the 5 chords of sense pleasure. Enjoying life as a lay person. That's the third danger to avoid. Now the 4th danger is the last one. What is it? The danger of river dolphins. This one is quite funny. Here bhikshus, certain son of family. So this, say you young people, you become monks because you've seen suffering in the world. But then when you go arms round, and when you're not unguarded, you will see, look at 19.2, second one. So you go into the city, second paragraph, with body unguarded, with speech unguarded, with mindfulness unestablished, with faculties unrestrained. There he sees a woman scantily clothed, scantily dressed. And having seen that woman scantily clothed, scantily dressed, lust corrupts his mind. So seeing these figures of women, you think back about your lay life and then you give up the training. Right? So this is the danger of river dolphins. The river dolphins are very beautiful mammals in the river, right? So it's something like just a parable. So when you see river dolphins, you say, oh yes, the Buddha thought about this, all right? So there you are. These are the 4 parables the Buddha used to remind the monks to make sure they do not get caught up with the world. And then they fail in their training, they give up monkhood. So the sutta ends here. It's a very dramatic and wonderful sutta, isn't it? Okay, we have about 7 minutes of question time.
Thank you, Piya, for the teaching. Now we'll have our Q&A. Sister Isim will help us with the session. Sister Isim, please.
Thank you, Sister Ratna. Thank you, Brother Piya, for the teaching.
Okay.
The first question from Brother Manyank. How could these same 4 dangers apply to lay people?
Okay. Well, notice here the Buddha says that these are in reference to the way lay people live, enjoying life, right? So the basic question here is, to what extent can lay Buddhists enjoy life, right? Then of course you have this story about Siddhartha enjoying all these pleasures as a young man, and so he doesn't have to think much about it. Let me put it this way: as we should grow up normally, especially when we're young, learn to make friends, and then you find as you make friends, you make mistakes. All right, we all make mistakes. That's called dukkha. And then you have the other truth, meaning you should learn from these mistakes. This making mistakes is very important because they are teaching you something, right? So do not say it's all right. Do not forget the mistakes you make. Tell yourself, why is this wrong? What happened here? What is this mistake I made, right? So you make friends as lay people. You have companions. You make love. You make mistakes, right? Then you learn, see? So before marriage, during marriage, after marriage. So as a lay person, you learn to practice the precepts. The precepts telling you when to stop. The precepts are signs telling you, okay, you can. There is this group of lay disciples who enjoy sensual pleasures, and yet they are one of those, the extreme winners. They know when to stop. In other words, you respect your body, the other person's body also. So these are for lay people. We keep the 5 precepts. We don't follow the monks' 227 rules, and the nuns are even more rules. So the idea here is knowing when to stop, knowing your situation in society, be responsible for your family. Because the idea here is bringing life into samsara means responsibility. You're going to bring suffering to this new being who is born into the world. So you have to make sure there are provisions. This child we bring into the world will not suffer and will not cause suffering to others. So this is a quick answer, all right, for lay people, how we should live our lives. Whereas in the case of the monks and nuns, they already given up all these things. So the Buddha is reminding them, keep away from these 4 things, right? So for lay people, the simple answer is remember the precepts. The precepts are telling you, the precepts are like football game rules. You can play the game, but keep to the rules. If you keep to the rules, then the game is fun. It means know when to stop, when to take that break, and when to turn to the Dhamma. Okay, so this is the short, simple answer. All right, next question.
Thank you, Brother Piya. The next question by Brother Tom. An editing question. On the first page of your introduction, is there a knot missing? Taking care of new monastics, so they are bracket not driven to give up the training. Brother Tom is asking, is it missing knot? The knot word.
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Tom. Yes, I think it should. Okay, I'm reading 1.1.1 Sutta summary. The Cātumā Sutta M67 is about how the Buddha and Sangha teachers should take care of young monastics so that they are not driven, you got to not driven to give up the training on account of recalling the comfort and pleasures of their lay life. Okay, thank you, Tom. Right, there you are. Human mistakes, and you need proofreaders, all right? So in a sense, all the sutta translation is not done by me. It should be done by us together. No? It's a corporate Dhamma body, so to speak. Okay. Now, ideally, I wish we have this really great committee of very good people who know the Pali, who knows Pali well, and also the Dhamma, and translate this. You know, maybe in the years to come, we might have that. All right, any other question?
Thank you, Brother Piya. There's no question in the chat box. Yeah, any brother and sister would like to ask question, you can unmute also.
Well, in the meantime, I hope everyone, wherever you are, the weather is good for you. All the typhoon in Hong Kong is gone. You'll have back to your safe life, happy lives. Okay. Sadhu, yeah. And any other quick feedback before we finish? Oh, I'm happy with this sutta, you know, because sometimes we wonder, oh, you know, the Buddha just telling the monks about Savinaya rules. But it's a very beautiful teaching when you look at it with your heart. You know, I was reading a bit of this Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, The Little Prince, chapter 21 is one of the most beautiful chapters. In fact, chapter 21 is the most beautiful chapter in that story of the Little Prince, I think. It's a very moving story, very moving, simple chapter. This little prince meets his figure and say, hello, how are you, but at first you can't see this. It's a little fox. The fox is under the apple tree, and the fox said, well, I'm a fox, and the little prince say, oh, you're so beautiful, I want to be your friend. Then the fox says, I can't be your friend because I'm not tame. I'm not tame. And then he says, our task in life is to tame others, so you have to tame me first. You tame me, then you can be my friend. And what does taming means? Taming means you recognize this person. Then only you can become responsible for this friend. You take care of this friend that you are the one take care against that. And that's how you tame others. So in others, you tame yourself, you tame others. And later in that chapter, the fox seems to be very wise here. The fox tells the princesses, let me tell you a secret. It says, all these wonderful things in life, you cannot see. You cannot see them with your eyes. You must see them with your heart. I thought it was really beautiful because that's what the Buddha is telling us. The heart, when we say heart in Thai, for example, it's this chit, chitta, in other words. And in Chinese also, the word sting, means both heart and mind. So, in other words, you can't just read something, you can't just hear something. You got to experience it, you got to feel it, And only when you do that, you understand the Dharma. And in order to understand the Dharma, you have to suffer for it, in a sense. Not that suffering is great, it's good. No, it's a teaching process. When you help others, there is suffering involved. There is some loss involved. You have to give up a bit of time, a bit of wealth, a bit of you use your own wisdom. And in that way, you tame yourself, you tame others, and you see something. Definitely you're keeping the precepts. So that chapter 21 is really beautiful, very Buddhistic chapter. I just want to share with you. Okay. All right. We just passed a couple of minutes already, at 9:30. So we will close this study on that beautiful thought. So send out your loving kindness to yourself, to your loved ones, even to enemies, even to those people who have hurt you, that they may be well and happy, and you'll be friends again. At the same time, also remember how wonderful it is we are living in a time when we can keep in touch with the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, such as in this study. So let us now bow our heads down to the three jewels. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivadin Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.